Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Is my screen showing up okay for everyone here?
Yes.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. Welcome, everyone. It's so great to see you all here today. I hope you all are here for the Community Health Incubator info session. If so, you are in the right place. So, what are we talking about today? First, we're going to kick off with some introductions and an overview of what we're doing. Introductions. I want to hear from all of you all in the chat. So put in the chat your name, where you are at in this beautiful country, and what community health disparity you are working to solve. So again, that's your name, where you're at, and what you're working to solve. And I'll kick us off with introducing our team who's here today as well. I'm Miranda Williamson. I'm the Director of Recruiting here at Seed Spot. So I'm the first point of contact. I've spoken and met with many of you before and love to see that you're all here to hear from other team members. I'll pass it off to Tiffany from Volunteers of America.
All right. Well, hello, good morning or afternoon, depending on where you're at. My name is Tiffany Gathers. I'm the Senior Manager of Social Impact Development at Volunteers of America, the national office, which is based out of Alexandria, Virginia, but I am located on the West Coast in Seattle. Thank you all for being here.
And we'll pass it off to Stephen.
Hey everyone, I'm reading the chat. I'm loving this. Stephen Samuels, Vice President of Innovation and Impact Investing at the National Office of VOA, and thrilled to be here with you.
Great. And I believe we'll be joined later by Tristan. Is that correct?
I think so. I can message her to see.
Excellent. Well, we may be joined later by our VP of Programs, Tristan Gandolfi. And if not, we'll go ahead and take over her pieces of this presentation. So today we're going to be talking about the history and all things VOA. So we'll kick us off with our VOA team here, Tiffany and Stephen. We'll go over the program. So we'll do a program overview. So what it is that you're getting into. Then we'll have plenty of time for a Q&A panel. And that will be an opportunity to bring your burning questions to our very knowledgeable team here to answer what it is you've been wondering about this program. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get going.
Yeah. So I'm going to take it for the first few minutes, y'all, and give you a little bit of an overview of Volunteers of America and the Futures Fund and how we got to this place. And just want to share that my heart is swelling outside of my chest as I read what each of you does in the communities across the country. We are huge fans of your work, whether we know you personally or not yet. We are both sharing missions. Obviously, we are both passionate and in love with a problem that we want to solve and to do so creatively and in a way that is sustainable. And I think, that is both your role as an entrepreneur in the community health space, and it's also the responsibility of a nonprofit like Volunteers of America. We've been around 127 years, so we have figured out a little bit about sustainability. We are considered one of the largest nonprofit housing, health, and human service organizations in the country. And also, like any entrepreneur, we recognize that we've got to be innovative, that we've got to be future looking, adaptable. And so being here with you and the development of this community health incubator really fits into our strategy as an organization so that we can have greater impact in the United States, and we can remain relevant, and we can close gaps that unfortunately continue to permeate our society. Next slide. So the way that we're structured is important for you to know. We are what's called a federated organization. So as Tiffany referenced, we have a headquarters in Alexandria, Virginia, whose real kind of core mission is to make our affiliates the best that they can be. It's the affiliates, the 30 affiliates across the country that really do the great work of Volunteers of America, serving the most vulnerable populations and largely the Medicaid population. In total, we touch about 2 million lives on an annual basis. And unlike our name might signify, we do not do this with volunteers predominantly. We do it with nearly 16,000 employees. The name Volunteers of America, as you might imagine, is a legacy name. 100+ years ago, if you wanted to feed the homeless, if you wanted to house the homeless, if you wanted to take care of veterans, it was mostly done by volunteers, but that is not the case today. And of the nearly 2 million people we serve, as you can see from this slide, I mean, it is a very diverse group. We have hundreds of programs that serve these populations. By the numbers, some of the biggest areas that we have an impact on are certainly individuals that are experiencing homelessness, seniors, veterans, at-risk youth, and I would say individuals that are dealing with significant and serious behavioral health, mental health issues. So we have really some incredible programs around drug and alcohol treatment. Particularly, we love our family-focused recovery programs, which provide for women and their children to go through treatment while staying together. We also are one of the largest nonprofit developers of affordable housing in the country. So we have nearly 23,000 units of affordable housing, in which at a lot of those facilities, we provide very robust wraparound care services to help people age in place and be healthy without having to utilize the hospital as their primary care. We also have over a dozen different types of senior healthcare facilities, from independent living to assisted living to memory care. Next slide. And so, you know, to my earlier point about any organization, whether you're for-profit or nonprofit, needing to always be looking at the landscape to refine your products and services and be the most impactful that you can be and be the most sustainable that you can be. In 2018, thanks to a corporate partner, we seeded an impact investing subsidiary of the organization called the Futures Fund to invest in innovation, first within our company, to foster the testing and piloting in new business lines. And so we provided technical training and grant support and other kinds of debt instruments to help do that. A couple of years later, we expanded that thesis to begin to support entrepreneurs like yourself, recognizing that all the innovation that we were looking for was not simply going to come from within inside Volunteers of America, but that there was so much benefit to be had if we were to partner up with emerging entrepreneurs, with early stage companies that were out there in the market solving very similar types of problems, and we could have a very synergistic relationship with each other. The areas that we've invested in so far, which totals over $3 million, you can see here, we've ended up really focusing in on early childhood development, food insecurity, better access to healthcare, better analysis of people's biometrics and healthcare symptoms and so forth, economic stability and building financial freedom for families, and the stability of housing for our clients. Those are not the only areas we're interested in, but those just happen to be the greatest area that our money so far has supported. Next slide. And this is essentially our theory of change model. And I think it's important for you to see, because with the help of the community health incubators and the cohorts within them, this is what we're really trying to prove out. And it is a learning journey for us. You know, you are only our third cohort. I should say that we are recruiting for only our third cohort. Um, and so we are still learning a lot and still finding our proof of concept in different places. But essentially, I think many of you probably are learning about lots of different incubators and accelerators out there in the market. What we feel really makes us unique, the VOA Community Health Incubator sponsored by Humana, is that we are not just providing the support, the technical training, the support, and the capital from a VC perspective or an entrepreneurship support organization perspective. We're actually a provider like you that has an incredible portfolio of assets that we feel that we can leverage to both help companies like yours grow and pilot and scale. And in return, of course, you can help us fulfill our shared mission. So this is what you see here are those three categories of assets. Then we want to be able to provide as best as we can the coaching and the mentorship in partnership with Seed Spot and with leaders across the VOA and Humana network. Then we have a really wonderfully diverse set of catalytic capital that we can deploy to support that, both in grants as well as in debt and equity and revenue-based sharing models to achieve the outcomes that I think we all share. Next slide. I think in closing, I just wanted to express why Humana Foundation and VOA are partners on this. And as you think about your applications and your fit and your candidacy, you know, you can think about how you are addressing these kinds of principles. We are both very committed to health equity, which means that we want to look at the communities that we serve and the programs and business objectives that we have, and be honest with ourselves and identify where there are gaps out in the market, where there are gaps in the services that we provide, and make sure that the solutions that we are supporting begin to close those gaps and address those inequities. Really important to the work. There's also an emphasis on older adults, veterans, and children. And that can be a direct line to those individuals. It could also be a secondary line to those individuals where we've seen models, product, services that might first and foremost address the parents, but there's benefits to the children, for instance. Loneliness, isolation, that has come about in particular because of the pandemic and because of our growing aging population in this country. Models of care to address that is important to us. Nutrition, food insecurity, important to us. I think you probably have already read, and I just want to restate, there is a geographic priority, but again, not an exclusivity. And so this is very much related to where the Humana Foundation and Humana as a corporation is focused, and that's in Kentucky, Florida, Texas, and Louisiana. So when we evaluate our cohort, if you are either from those areas, currently working in those areas, or the opportunity to expand and scale in those states through a partnership with VOA is a compelling case to make. you will probably get scored a little bit higher in your application. Your ability to scale, no surprise, is important to us, but also that we can learn from these pilots and partnerships, and that there's the opportunity to replicate, in quotes, and I say replicate because we know that you always have to customize for the market. But for us to take the best practices and learnings from doing it in one market and being able to take it to another Volunteers of America community, that is terrific, and you know, it's a great way as well for any company to quickly grow. That the companies are are focused on the data and the research of your work is important, and as well that we can work with you to develop thought leadership initiatives. And finally, the opportunity to do value-based collaboration with managed care organizations. So we find that a lot of companies can work with us at the same time. Their revenue model is attached to payers, providers, and healthcare systems. We're looking to see how that framework is proposed by our cohort candidates. So just wanted to put that out there at the top. I think that's my last slide. I want to say thank you again for being here. We're so excited to go into our third year. We have an amazing group of advisory board members behind us, and Futures Fund board members behind us, and leaders from the Humana enterprise that are just as excited as I am. And so on behalf of all of them, I just want to say thanks for being here, and thanks for your interest in participating.
All right. Well, thank you, Stephen, for that overview. Myself and also Tristan will take over this next part to talk about the incubator, which you guys are all here really wanting to learn more about. Why are we doing what we're doing? So the Futures Fund Community Health Incubator, which launched in 2002 as, or 2022, not 2002, 2022, with the support of the Humana Foundation. As you saw, it's kind of first of its kind for Volunteers of America. Through this incubator, your company will have the opportunity to enhance your business through a variety of means, such as pitch refinement, business coaching. Oh, excuse me, 1 second. 1 second. Sorry, my phone just went off. I'm not sure why. Pitch refinement, business coaching, sales process, and so forth. Health equity is one thing that is a very key aspect of what we are doing in this program. And when we get on further into slides, I will explain that a bit more about what we mean around health equity. We also offer a partnership with our affiliates to help expand your business, and partnerships with mentors and coaches from VOA, but also from SeedSpot, and also our advisory board that Stephen mentioned in the previous slide. And lastly, this program offers unrestricted funding of up to $15,000 to help your company grow and expand. We also include a travel stipend for the national conference that we have that will take place in the National Harbor in Maryland, right outside of DC. There's a potential of a $10,000 piloting grant with affiliates and you'll also be eligible for a follow-on investment after the program has concluded. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned earlier about health equity, so what makes this incubator different from other programs is our focus on health equity. As you can see through VOA's health equity statement, where we define health equity as everyone has a fair and just opportunity to be as healthy as possible. From the beginning of the incubator to the end, we'll work with your company to improve and integrate health equity concepts into your work. The ways that we are doing this are by providing health equity tools and resources, not only providing an assessment, giving you all an assessment, a self-assessment on how you would rate yourself in health equity, but using those scores to really match you with a mentor and coaches who can help you on your health equity journey. With health equity coaching, we will work with those who are in VOA and who are in Humana, who can help you on that journey. And then in general, just thought leadership engagement. Again, this will be with VOA, with Humana and other mentors that we have through our advisory board to really engage on health equity. Next slide, please. And I'll throw this over to Tristan, who will talk about the program overview.
Hey, everybody.
Tristan, just, introduce yourself a bit. We did introductions earlier, and I said you might be joining us.
Yes, I am here. Sorry, I have the honor of facilitating and organizing programs for SeatSpot. And so I literally hopped off of one program to join this session here today. So excited to meet you all. My role in this partnership is I get to create the learning experience for all of our entrepreneurs. And make sure that the courses and the mentorship and everything really create some awesome transformation for the work that you're doing. So I get the honor of talking about all these kind of secret ingredients that make our program different than your regular incubator, right? Your regular program where you sign up and maybe there's a class or two. This is a lot more than just a class or two. So let's talk through it. And again, feel free to activate the chat with questions you have or any points of clarity needed in order to really understand the nuts and bolts of this magic. So key components, we've touched on it, mentorship and training. So mentorship, we match you one-on-one with a mentor that meets with you for a minimum of 30 minutes per week throughout the program. We do that match based on you identifying where you need support. So for example, if you're struggling with fundraising or you're struggling with just numbers in general, hey, we know somebody. And what's beautiful about this partnership is we have the network of Humana and VOA and SeatSpot to provide you with a mentor who can really, really get to the root of the support and the need that you're requesting. The training. So that's going to be our courses, right? We have that kickoff event. So that's an opportunity to meet everybody at the conference in DC. And then we have a multi-week kind of curriculum that you'll walk through where we focus on different parts and it'll be in just a minute, I'll show you all of the good stuff, but different parts of your business. We also have grants and potential investment. So the grants are funding that you get for spending time with us and spending time on your business. We recognize that you were probably fundraising, developing, writing grants prior to this program. And your time is important and we value your time. So there is a stipend as being a part of this, a grant, if you will, to basically say thank you for showing up, being an amazing partner, being open to piloting, and really, again, creating change through health equity. Community. So many of you might have small teams that are in a specific part of the world. Imagine having a community that understands and empathizes what it's like to be a startup and that you can meet them in a virtual platform. Tons of, as we've seen in past years, collaboration between the ventures since you all share a common goal of making the world a better place. Lots of overlap and potential for creating relationships and impact together as well. We look for, when we talk about outcomes, right, that we kind of break it into different buckets. So one of our outcomes is we're hoping to prepare you for venture capital, right? To be ready to take on capital, whether it be through the VOA or whether it be external. So making sure due diligence processes are ready. If you happen to be a nonprofit, because we are agnostic, whether you're a for or a nonprofit, the way you take on money through fundraising grants looks different. But we want you to be ready for that, to have the assets necessary to take really important conversations with really amazing people. You also get to leverage a amazing national network in healthcare, right? Humana, like that's pretty much like, inviting Oprah to your business. It's a big deal having the Humana network at your fingertips. And so VOA as well, with its history of working in the community, has partners outside of just Humana. Blue Cross Blue Shields came to the conference and spoke with the ventures last year. So Tiffany will give you a little snapshot of some stakeholders that support this program and look at the companies that they represent because they will become part of your network. Also develop a strategic growth plan. So if you're receiving funding, what happens after that? You're going to need a growth plan. And so we'll support you in crafting that. I see I've got a message in the chat. Oh, okay. We just welcome first and foremost. So here's a draft of the program schedule. Now, I would not say commit this to your brain. You're probably grabbing screenshots right now so you can save dates on your calendar because you are all amazing overachievers. But the reality is there might be some shifting once we meet the ventures, the session times, just, bear with us as we evolve with you. But we do know that our conference will be in the beginning of May. And then we go into a pattern where we'll take a session, a meeting, basically once a week. Those sessions are 90 minutes in length. They have a learning outcome. There's a goal, a deliverable, something tangible that you'll have to create. For example, sales assets or a sales funnel. We also have some optional opportunities for learning. And so those are highlighted in blue. These are if you want to send a member of your team or you yourself want to join. This is where we get into a little bit of the flexibility. So if we learn from the cohort, for example, that you're hungry to learn more about AI, well, guess what? We're going to bring that in. We're going to connect you with those resources. The Gray Week that is located there, that's closed. It's a holiday. So you get a week off to enjoy with family, to reflect on the amazing program. And then we come back to round it out. Another thing I want to call out, those last two events in week 12, week 13. First is we have a showcase. So by the end of this program, we do a showcase where you get to do a 3-minute pitch. You pitch to an audience of VOA community, your community. It's a big celebration, really and truly, of all the learning that you've done throughout the program. And this is where we invite a lot of the affiliates, and they get to hear the work that you'd like to do in partnership with them. So we're building it towards that goal of putting together that 3-minute pitch. By the end of the program, there's coaching and support. And again, that's open to the community. It's just a celebration. And then we have graduation. And so that's an opportunity to invite mentors and celebrate your commitment to this work. Now, this is just the accelerator. I do want to say that the accelerator is just a small piece of the entire relationship you'll have. So this cohort, there'll be follow-up meetings. Tiffany and Stephen are continuously taking meetings with you and affiliates. So just because the education ceases at week 13 does not mean that your role with VOA and this program stops there too. I'll pause briefly. I'll check the chat. I know that there's a lot of questions or kind of around the curriculum and the experience in the curriculum. Anything burning questions coming up right now? I'm glad I was able to at least answer one question. All right, I'll pass it back to Tiffany, who'll take us through our program timeline.
Yes. So just to kind of highlight what this all looks like, we opened up applications in late November. We had our early action deadline that just passed in December. And now we have the application will be closing February 1st. Virtual program will kick off in April. And that's really to kind of get to know each other, prepare for the conference, what to expect. The conference and the programming, as Tristan said, goes to around about 3 months. So it ends at the end of July. And then after that, there will be cohort check-ins that will take place in August and in October. And those are pretty informal, just for us to really know about how our partnerships going with affiliates, or how we're developing partnerships going with affiliates. Is there anything that we can do on our end to support you and your relationships with anyone that you have met through the program? So it's just a way for us to kind of establish that check-in with you. Go ahead and on to the next slide. So one thing I do want to highlight that Stephen mentioned earlier is our advisory board. So our board is really instrumental in shaping the incubator and holding us accountable to our goals. Our board is made up of diverse leaders, not just with talking about ethnicity, but really with their backgrounds. They're leaders in social enterprises, healthcare, community service, all the ranges of things that really make this incubator really effective and successful. Our ultimate goal that they are helping us with in the end is to address those inequities that are taking place in our society. This board is also available to the incubator to serve as mentors and coaches. So just to highlight a few of those who are on here that you see on this list, we have Chris from Humana. Chris is really instrumental with helping to shape our health equity framework. We have Hema from Mid-States. She is on the business development team, the Mid-States affiliate in Louisville, so with Volunteers of America. So she's someone that knows firsthand how to engage and work with those who are on the ground level in cities. Then you also see on there Claire from Let's Get Set. She is actually an alumni of the Community Health Incubator from our first cohort, and she's been able to partner with our affiliates with her business. So again, by joining the incubator, this will all be available to you, these board members, with either coaching or just mentorship, or just really their framework that they've helped to develop for us. And I think next slide. Right.
All right, I'll take over from here. We're about to turn things over Q&A session, which I know you've all been waiting very patiently for. Before I do that, I hope I'm going to be able to remove some mystery from this process, which this is the application process and how things will go. So you're at step one. You're attending an info session. So you're learning all of the knowledge you need to know to have a strong application. So you'll submit your online application. It's reviewed within 2 weeks. If you're moved forward, you will be invited to a 20-minute interview with me. It's not very scary. I'll ask you some questions about your application. If there are any questions that arose from your application, I'll ask you about potential partnerships that may happen with VOA affiliates. So be sure to do your homework. Then you'll be evaluated for program fit, and a VOA committee will review your application at that point if you're moved forward. We'll be moving a small group forward to the next step. Anywhere from 12 to 20 folks will be moving forward to step number 6. And then if you are moved to the next stage, which is the final stage, which is acceptance, you'll receive an offer letter, and then you confirm your participation. All right. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share, and we'll move into the Q&A portion of this info session. So feel free to use the raise hand feature and raise your hand, and I'll call on you, or drop your questions in the chat and we'll read them aloud. So who would like to kick us off with a question? No questions for today?
Okay. Well, yes, I just can't. Feel free to come off mute if you want to, if that works out better.
Yes, hi.
Yeah.
This is Aide Granados, joining from Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex area. Thank you so much. I had a question regarding the nonprofits, because we are a nonprofit, a 501c3. So I'm so glad to know that we can join. I don't know if you can also explain a little bit more about after the incubator. I mean, it's not only the follow-on funding that I understand that we can apply if we are invited, but what is the commitment in terms of time? Is like kind of a forever fellow incubator, or a little bit more about that commitment?
Yeah, I can answer that. So once the program concludes, usually, let me back up a bit. Like, when you're in the program is when we start to really introduce you to more affiliates, and to see if there's could be potential partnership. And then usually towards the end of the incubator is when those partnerships are really starting to get into discussions are starting to really take place to discuss, to really figure out partnerships. So what will happen after the incubator has concluded at the end of July is that usually those conversations still continue on. You can have those on your own, or invite us to those so we can kind of help facilitate those. And then the check-ins are really just for you. There's only 2 that are really on the books. that, again, it's informal. We just want you to come in so we can know how to help you, and so you can be able to share with the rest of the group, because it really becomes a community after the program has concluded. And then afterwards, we will do quarterly check-ins. Again, those are optional, and it's still the same focus on focusing on, like, how can we help you with partnerships? What are you needing from us? You do not have to attend those, but in our books, you'll always be an alumni. And I know from, as maybe Tristan or Miranda, if you want to talk about like alumni benefits afterwards with SeedSpot.
Yeah, I can jump in here.
Yeah, I'll let.
Does that work, Miranda?
Yep, absolutely.
So to be a SeedSpot alumni, actually I could have, there's a couple in the room right now. I could have them speak to it. But the benefits are access to a platform that provides you with resources. There's ongoing mentorship. And that goes on in perpetuity for the individual, not the business, right? So if you end up exiting and starting another company, need resources to get that off the ground, you can still come back to us. And there isn't like a maximum or minimum amount of uses, right? So for example, what I call it a boomerang effect. So we often see entrepreneurs come to us and they are like, hey, we need help with a single skill. We match them, say, with a mentor or a resource, like a boomerang. They get launched into the universe. They use that resource and then they come back for something different, right? So again, we are here. We've been around now almost 12 years, and we've had alumni coming back over the course of those entire 12 years for different resources. And so that relationship stays open forever.
Great. Excellent. Thank you, Tristan and Tiffany. I have a question in the chat from Dale. Would you kindly review the funding for both the program and travel?
Yeah, I can provide that. So each company in the incubator will receive $15,000 unrestricted grant. You can use that for enhancing your business. If there's staff that needs to be paid for, if it's to get whatever you need to basically off the ground, it's unrestricted, so you can use it as you see fit. We'll just ask for basically like a spreadsheet that we'll provide to you that we would just like to document what exactly it's being used for. That $10,000 piloting grant. So if you happen to, during the program, it's most likely going to take place after the program, are able to connect with affiliates, and they want to pilot your business in their location, but they need funding to do so, because that's what it takes to get these pilots off the ground. You can apply for up to $10,000 for that piloting with affiliates. The stipend that we have for the travel, last year we had it around $1,700. It's kind of based off of where we're located, but basically that travel can be used for we would say up to 2 people. You can use that for airfare, lodging for the hotel, food, whatever it might be. And also keep in mind, you can also use part of your $15,000 stipend to go towards travel too. So that's kind of the breakdown of that. And then after the program is concluded, everyone will be eligible for a follow-on investment of up to $200,000. That will go through the process of due diligence and making sure that you're working with affiliates and there's pilots that are really being getting off the ground to make you eligible for that up to $200,000 investment. And that investment could look like debt or equity, safe note. We're pretty flexible with what that looks like.
Great. And KJ, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Yes, thank you. And thank you all for your time today. I apologize if my question's a little not as formed. But I just wanted to kind of get a sense of, is there a stage of the business that is more amenable for this program? So more context is I had started one venture and I'm pivoting a little bit into a new venture that focuses more on the technology component based on the learnings from the old venture, where we realized like solving the tech was really the break point to make something like what we were doing the first time around successful. So we have a prototype and we're looking to pilot out the prototype in the coming months, and that's really what we'd want to like use this incubator for, is to start to build those pilots out. So I just wanted to get a sense of like, is there a stage that's appropriate, or would coming in with a prototype be something that y'all be interested in?
I'm
I
not
can
sure if Miranda.
tackle that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tackle that question. So, KJ, I don't think you have anything to lose by applying. If anything, that gets you in our network, and we'll be able to communicate with you in regards to future programming. That's the least that would happen. We have in the past considered prototypes, given the solution that they have and the need for that solution within specific affiliate communities. So it's not out of the question. We are looking for ventures with demonstrated traction, who are ready to really put their solutions to work within the VOA affiliate communities. But again, I don't discourage you from applying.
Thank you.
All right, I have a question in the chat from Amy Lane. Can you tell us a bit more about the May 4th through 7th event? Only for founders, or should we bring co-founders? Who would like to share a bit more about the conference? Tiffany?
You got it. I also put it in the chat too, Amy. So the conference is kind of the big goals of the conference. First is connection. So I would say connection between the cohort, between SeedSpot, between VOA, to really build a strong community within our cohort. Before we go into the virtual space. It's also connections with the broader VOA network, right? This is their annual conference. So we have all different types of amazing stakeholders to meet. We have the advisory board, many of them will be present. We have affiliates who, again, the goal is to partner with them by end of program. So you will have an opportunity to meet with affiliates. What I loved most about the conference last year is when the entrepreneurs used it as a discovery phase. So they went around asking questions about pain points the affiliates had. They asked about what programs are they currently running, what are their needs. So really going into it in an open-minded space where we can start to figure out, how does your solution best serve the needs of the affiliates. So I wouldn't expect, for example, contract signed and partnerships ready to go by, let's say, May 7th, 4 p.m. But instead, we've again built these really strong relationships that now you're having follow-up calls. You're in dialogue with the affiliates about what's actually happening on the ground. Because for many of us, we might be wanting to push into one of the areas, the states, the cities, but we're not yet there, right? And so this is a really good way to start to enter that market. And then we had a bunch of, for example, from a curriculum standpoint, there's part of it that is SeedSpot curriculum, where we're talking about functions of your business and tools for your business. Some of them are expert panels where we're bringing in, for example, Blue Cross Blue Shield, some of the decision makers about how they pick vendors and what does it look like for them to bring an external company in, and you get to real time ask them questions. So it's a little bit of everything, right? The goal again is, I would say, connection. Again, with cohort, with VOA, their community, with SeedSpot, our community. And then the question about founders, co-founders. So that stipend that you receive, you determine what that's being leveraged for. So if you think it makes sense, for example, to bring your CFO or to bring another member of your team, absolutely. I would say almost, Tiffany, correct me if I'm wrong, I think almost every team, so 5 of 6 teams last year brought a co-founder or a team member with. Yeah, they kind of divided and conquered. So they each had different sets of goals to leverage over the weekend. And then the 2 individuals in the virtual components kind of took turns who were attending which classes and those kind of things, but they still stayed engaged throughout the entire program. So if it makes sense for a co-founder, a member of your team to come, yes. And that's what the travel stipend is for, is to cover airfare, hotel room, whatever that might be.
Great. Thank you, Tristan. Aria, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Hey guys, how are you? Thank you so much again for doing this and taking time out to speak with us. So I had 2 questions for you guys. One is more of like a little fun question. and a little lighter, and the other one is, I guess, like a more serious question. So we'll start with the fun one. So if you guys could give 3 characteristics or like personality traits that you're looking for a company to invest in, what would that be? Like, what kind of company personality are you guys looking for? And then the second question is, do you guys have a preference whether you're funding a product or a system in software?
Mm. Let me answer the second one first, and then revisit your first question. I would say software can be a challenge for VOA affiliates to adapt. And the reason is, again, you're dealing with nonprofits that might be doing the same system for a long time. And so the thought of like kind of switching over, learning a new system will be a challenge. Not saying it can't be done, but it will be a challenge. For instance, like even if there are efficiencies, so we see like a lot of, EHR systems that can really be effective in with our affiliates, but there's so many of them that you kind of get inundated with them that it makes it hard to really decipher if you should switch over to a new system or not. So I would say systems technology can be really hard in that respect, that software piece. And then if you can restate your first question again, is that around what type of companies are we looking to work with?
I can answer
what are the
part
typical
of that one.
personality of that company?
Okay.
Yeah, I want to answer. I have one. She said, "What are the 3 personality traits?" And I have one that I always look at in my first review of applications, which is your proximity to the problem. Do you have a connection or a relationship to the problem in the world, to the inequity in the world that you're working to solve? I think that would be a personality trait that we look for.
Yeah.
Kristen, Tiffany, would you like to add to that?
I would say openness.
Openness.
Yeah, a sense of openness. I think this program is different than traditional accelerators in the sense of you are signing up to partner with someone you've never met, right? And there is most of the entrepreneurs we work with are working towards investment, working towards funding. They have, they really understand their solution. They're very confident about the ins and outs of their solution and potentially are not open as a result of that. And there's no shame in the game. Like I get why you have to be very clear on what you're doing if you're looking for fundraising. But that is what makes this different, is that you do need to be open and you do need to be able to empathize and listen and be coachable and receive feedback. And slow down maybe in some instances. If you've been running and hustling for a really long time, which is the role of a founder, you might have to move at a slightly slower pace than you've been doing for a while. And so I think, again, just that openness to something different, it looking different, it feeling different. Yeah, that is very beneficial, especially when working with the program.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would also add to that that what Stephen said earlier, like products that are filling gaps of services. So VOA does a lot and they work in many different areas. But there are probably those gaps that we haven't seen or have really identified yet, or know that there is a gap. So I think that's what our affiliates are looking for, is something that they're like, oh, I can see how that could connect and help make my job easier, or help really address the needs of our community.
Okay. Thank you so much, ladies.
Okay. And Miranda, is it possible, I want to answer a question before getting to, I believe Adam's hand is up. So Amy, I think you asked about in the chat on for pilots, we're working with university for an IRB study that will publish the findings. Does the Futures Fund have any requirements in their pilots that need to take into consideration? So I would say no, but again, each affiliate is different. When it comes to pilots, especially if you're going to be working with their communities, their clients, and using it for research, the affiliates will want to know, how does the work that you're doing going to benefit their affiliate? So they don't want to feel like their clients are just being used for a study. There would have to be something that they would feel that they're getting something out of it. So I would say that would be the one thing. But each affiliate is pretty different on how they establish being used or working with a study. So I don't think there necessarily would be a requirement per se on our end for the Futures Fund, but based on the affiliate and them feeling that they can get something out of that connection together. Hope that makes sense.
Great. Let's get to Adam. Thank you for waiting so patiently.
No worries. Thank you for having this. This has been really a great experience and very informational. I'm Adam White with TrueFit Adaptive Fitness. We're working to solve the health and wellness inequities of people with disabilities. And I had a question about the application. I have already submitted my application, and I did not receive like any kind of confirmation email. So I was just sort of seeing if there's a way to verify that actually did go through, or anything like that. Or do you guys not send out like a confirmation email that the application has been submitted, or just wanted to touch base on that and make sure that everything had been completed thus far that needed to be done?
We sure do. It comes from a system called Qualtrics and could have gone to your junk email, but I can go ahead and verify that you submitted your application and that we have it. And actually, I do have your application, Adam.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Great. Excellent. Sounds like there aren't any more questions and we're about to reach time. So I'll go ahead and share with you some next steps. So we have our final application deadline coming up. I encourage folks not to wait till the very last minute. Like Adam brought up, there could be something that comes up, like you didn't receive your confirmation email, or you miss a question, or some life circumstances come up. So I encourage you not to wait till the very last day at midnight. I encourage you to submit a little bit early. That's can be of huge benefit catching any unforeseen issues. So we do hope to make our final selection by the end of February, and that'll give you some time to prepare for the beginning of the incubator. If there are any delays, I will definitely communicate. Great. Thank you all for joining today. I will be sending out this recording after this meeting, so you will have that to review any questions or any portion of this conversation that you would like to review. With that, have a great day and happy application building.
Yes.
Bye, all.